Hey y'all, welcome to your first year of drum lessons, week 11, drum set edition. My name is Penny Larson, and I am super happy to have you with me. If this is your first time here, I invite you to subscribe to my channel so you'll be aware of when these videos come up. And if you like this video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. And if you really love me, you could always hit the little bell notification icon and get notified when I release new videos. Today we're going to use some of the things that we've been working towards. We're going to expand on our Paradiddle Pyramids that we did Wednesday on the drum pad, and we're going to work with some of the 16th note bass drum patterns and 8th note hi-hat patterns that we did last week on the drum set. We're going to have 3 handouts today. I got you covered, right? All of them will be PDFs down below. And so let's just jump in. So Wednesday we did the Paradiddle Pyramid on the drum pad with accents, and there's 2 different ways to do that. Either each paradiddle can have 1 accent, or each paradiddle can have multiple accents. And obviously the single paradiddle is always going to have just 1 accent, but the double can have either 1 or 2, and the triple can have either 1 or 3. And obviously we could do more variations than this as well, but these are the standard variations. So we're going to do that same thing on the drum set, but we're not just really going to accent, and we're not even going to think of them as accents. We're going to move what were accents, okay? So if the Paradiddle Pyramid with single accents is paradiddle, 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 right? So that's the single. Paraparadiddle, 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 that's the double. And then paradiddle, 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 that's the triple. And then we do the double again, and then we repeat the whole thing. So instead of doing those as accents, I'm going to move them to each drum. Because we did this the other day on the drum pad, I'm just going to play this for you. I'll start it slow and I'll speed it up a little bit just so you can see how it sounds. So here's letter A on your handout, the single accent version. Again, the single note moving version. Okay, so that was the single accent version, or again, single moving note. Now let's do letter B, and now I'm going to move every time I say pa, right? So paradiddle, 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 paraparadiddle, 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 paraparadiddle. Okay, so here we go. Ready, go. Okay, so now I'm going to take the multiple accent version and I'm going to do something a little bit more melodic as the accents increase. We're going to work as if you have a standard drum set. So this is tom 1, tom 2, and tom 3. And with the double accents, I'm going to go paradiddle, paradiddle. And the triples, I'm going to go paradiddle, paradiddle. Just so you can start to see how some of these patterns can work as they get, as you get more comfortable moving them around the drum set. So here we go. Start slow, I'll speed it up a little bit, but not too much. Here we go. Ready, go. Okay, and that's just with the Paradiddle Pyramid, right? We haven't even really talked about what happens when we just start doing random paradiddles, right? We'll save that for another time, work on these patterns and get comfortable with them, and then we'll be able to break them up and do crazy stuff. I love paradiddles for just kind of randomly playing around the drums, and I can think of a melody, and because my hands know all these tricky ways to sort of change my sticking around and get which hand leading I want to be leading. I can think about the melody and not really think about all the little notes I'm playing in between, right? So we're going to get 2 reading handouts today, but we're only going to do half of both of them. So don't feel overwhelmed and don't lose them, although there'll be a link, so if you lose them, it's not that big a deal. Okay, so first, we're going to do some patterns with the open hi-hat. This first one, we've got an open hi-hat opening with the bass drum and then closing with the bass drum, and 1. Here it's opening with the bass drum but then closing with the snare drum, and 4. Here it's opening with the snare drum, closing with the bass drum, 2 and. Here the hi-hat is just playing, your left foot is going to play all 4 quarter notes, and your bass drum is kind of doing some 8th note patterns around that. Here it's opening with the bass drum, closing with the snare, opening with the bass, closing with the bass. And then here, same thing as number 4. Number 6 has the hi-hat left foot playing all 4 quarter notes, and now the bass drum is playing all 8 8th notes. So let's run through these and see how they sound. Number 1, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Let's do that one again a little bit faster. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Number 2, now with the hi-hat opening on the and of 3 and closing on 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. A little faster. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Number 3, now the hi-hat opens on beat 2 with the snare. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. A little faster. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, number 4. Now this is one of the ones where the left foot just plays on all 4 quarter notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. A little bit faster. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, number 5, we have a couple open hi-hats at the end of the measure. First opening on the end after 3 and landing on 4, and then opening on the end after 4 and landing on the next one. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Faster. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, and the last one we're going to do today is number 6. And number 6 is another one where the hi-hat, left foot is just playing on all 4 quarter notes, which means it's opening on all the ands. And now the bass drum is just playing on all the 8th notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And now a little bit faster. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, and like I say, number 6 is where we're going to leave off on this one today. If you want to go ahead, that's fine. But one of the things we've talked a little bit about in our lessons is pacing. And I don't want to make it so there's 0 chance of most of you keeping up, right? I want to make these lessons so most of you are keeping up as we go. And so let's pace ourselves. So now 16th notes on the bass drum. Same thing, not exactly the same thing. We're going to do the first half of these, so we're going to do the first 8. And I'm not going to explain them too much. You can see where the 16th notes are. Remember, for both this and the hi-hat, if you have any trouble, we went over all of these patterns last week in a pretty specific way, just looking at each pattern in a physical what happens, then what happens, then what happens kind of way. And so if any of these feel not great in context, go back and refer to that and then try and put them in this, okay? So number 1, I just have an offbeat 16th note right before beat 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. A little faster. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so number 2, there's an offbeat 16th with the bass drum right before beat 3, which means I'm going to have 2 bass drum notes right next to each other, pretty close. If this is tricky, we did an extra video last week on foot technique, and feel free to refer back to that. Or just play this slowly, and physically it shouldn't be too much of an issue. It should be just make sure you're getting the 16th note exactly between the 2 eighth notes, right? An eighth note splits into 2 even 16th notes, which means that when we're going to play the offbeat one, either the E or the it has to be exactly, like if this is an and, let's do this example. So if this is and this is 3, right? The has to be right in the middle of those 2 notes. It can't drift to one or the other, because then it'll mess with the feel. And there can be times when we want to do that, but we don't want to do that now. So keep your 16th notes really even. Okay. So number 2, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And now a little faster. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so number 3 is very similar. I have an offbeat 16th note on the after 4, right? Which means it's going to lead into the next one. But in a physical sense, it's the same as what we just did for a 3. We're just going to now have a 1, okay? And that sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Number 4, we have the same offbeat 16th note that we did in number 1, the right before 4. So the bass drum is going to lead into the snare drum note on 4, but we have a bass drum note on 3 before it. So we're going to have 3, 4, doom, doom, bap, right? So that sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And a little faster. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So number 5, we're going to use that same dotted 8th 16th pattern. We're going to use it both on 1, a 2, and then 3, a 4. And we're going to throw in 2 eighth notes with the bass drum on the and after 2 and the and after 4. And that sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. A little faster. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Number 6, we've got the same dotted eighth, 16th pattern again, but now instead of eighth notes with the bass drum on the and after 2 and the and after 4, I'm going to do 16th notes on the after 2 and the after 4. So I'm going to get basically a do-doom, do-bap, do-doom, do-bap. So it's always an leading into the beat, and every other time it leads into the bass drum, and every other time it leads into the snare drum. And that sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. A little faster. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Number 7, now we're going to start to get busy with our foot. We've got 2 16ths and an eighth right off the bat. Do-do-doom, 1 E and. And then I'm going to still have that dotted eighth 16th pattern leading into beat 4. This one can be a little bit of a workout. Feel free to take this one really slow to make sure that you're playing the rhythm correctly. I'll do this one a little bit slower than I've been doing the slow version. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And now a little faster. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now in number 8, I've got after beat 2, the E and the with the bass drum. And the way that that's written, we've seen that a couple times, but the way that that's written is a 16th rest, and then an eighth note, which takes us from the E all the way to the and then a 16th note on the and then an at the very end of the measure as well. And that sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And a little faster. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so that's where we're going to stop for today. Again, this is a pretty dense sheet with a lot of stuff to work on. If you look at this and you're like, oh, Penny, please, I got this, feel free to move ahead and work on the whole page. But I don't want you getting overloaded. Okay, I want this to be, even though this is an aggressive pace, I want this to be a realistic pace for you to keep up with. And so that's going to wrap us up for today. We've got our Paradiddle Pyramids, we've got our open hi-hats, and we've got some 16th note patterns. We're going to do more open hi-hat next week and 16th note patterns, obviously. And we might even start to talk about flams on the drum set. Well, that's exciting. So Thank you so much for being with me today. I've been having a really fun time doing these lessons. I hope you're all enjoying them. Again, I'd love a thumbs up if you don't mind. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, that would be awesome. And you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Penny Larson Drums. And I would love to see you there as well. But for now, that's going to do it. We will pick up next Wednesday with more stuff on the drum pad and next Friday with more stuff on the drum set. I hope you have a great weekend, and I hope you are all staying safe, and I hope you are loving on each other an awful lot. Remember, we are together even when we're apart. I love you all very much. Bye.